Worried about the pre-trip inspection test? We've got you covered. The suspension system. The suspension system has three questions. One question is about the leaks, air leak in air suspension system. Now, the suspension system, of course, doesn't have oil. It has air. So we're not talking about oil leaks. We're talking about air leaks. When we're talking about leaks, air leaks, oil leaks, we try to stick to the leaks. So the way to kind of differentiate between the questions in your mind is that when we're talking about leaks, we're not checking for fasteners, we're not checking for damages. And that is applicable here too. So air leak in air suspension system is the minor and damaged, patched, cut, bruised, cracked tube braid or deflated airbag or insecurely mounted airbag is the major defect. Now, we are talking about damages and cuts, but it's damages and cuts to the airbag, which is, again, we're talking about the air. The second part is the broken spring leaf. Now we're talking about the damages. Again, when we're talking about the damages, we stick to the damages. So a broken spring leaf is the minor defect. And cracked or broken main spring leaf, or more than one spring leaf in any spring leaf assembly. And part of the spring leaf or suspension is missing, shifted out of place, or is in contact with another vehicle component, that would be the major. Now, as you see, there are nothing about fasteners, there's nothing about leaks. Third one is suspension fastener is loose, missing, or broken. Now we're talking about the fasteners. And the major is loose U-bolt. Again, U-bolt, we're not talking about a cracked U-bolt, we're talking about the loose U-bolt. Now, of course, if it's cracked, it's a defect, but what's important here is that fastener, looseness, damage, cracks, all that is another question. And then we have leaks. The leaks are a separate question. So let's do them one by one and check what they actually are asking. Let's start from the broken spring leaf. I want to first show you what we're talking about. What is a suspension? First of all, a suspension system is what makes your truck feel more comfortable, more bouncy, but it doesn't bounce you like this until you throw up. So all that system that makes the truck smooth and bouncy, that's the suspension system. Now, spring leaves. What are spring leaves? These two that you see here, the flat pieces of metal stacked on top of each other, those are called spring leaves. Their job is to create that bounciness and secure the load and make sure that it's not the truck is not driving too brittle and too hard, so that it can carry the load. Now, the spring leaves, there are two different kinds. There is the spring leaf, regular, and there's the main spring leaf. And what is the difference? All the spring leaves, they kind of add on top of each other and reinforce each other. But there's only one of them that is directly attached to the frame. That one is the main spring leaf. What difference does it make? If that one breaks, your whole assembly is loose. Your whole assembly cannot carry the load. It's not attached to the frame. But if one spring leaf, any other spring leaf, is broken, you basically have a weaker suspension going on. You have the basically strength of the assembly lowered. Now, you understand that if more than one spring leaf is broken, even if it's not the main spring leaf, if you have 4 stacks of a spring leaf and 2 of them are broken, that's a major defect. Why is it a major defect? It's running much lower than the capacity of the truck now. It cannot handle the load that it was designed to handle, and it's dangerous. Okay, so let's identify them here. Over here, as you can see, again, there are 2 stacks. There is the top one and the bottom one. which one is the main spring leaf? If you come close over here, you can see that one of them is directly wrapped around the shoulder or the bracket over here. This one that is tightly wrapped, which is the top one, is your main spring leaf. Now, if you see the other one, the bottom one also wrapped around, but it's not even touching the bracket. It's not even touching the top spring leaf, the main spring leaf. So this is just a fail-safe. In case that the spring leaf is broken, it wouldn't fall on the ground and create further damage. But what's key is that it is not connected directly to the frame. So the question comes that if they're not connected through the frame, how are they connected together? That's where the U-bolts come in. So as you can see over there, we have two U-bolts that are holding the main spring leaf and the spring leaf, and they're holding them firmly to that axle over there and stacking them on top of each other. So that's the job of the U-bolt. It's to hold everything together. Now, let's go back to the question. What is the question asking? It's saying a broken spring leaf is the minor, cracked or broken main spring leaf, or more than one broken spring leaf in any spring assembly, and part of the spring leaf or suspension is missing, shifted out of place, or is in contact with any other vehicle component. Those are the major defects. So how do we check that? First, we need to identify to the examiner which one is the main spring leaf. So that is the main spring leaf. This is the spring leaf. As far as I can see, there are no cracks, no damages to the spring leaves. Nothing is shifted out of place. We check the rest of the assembly. Nothing is touching any other vehicle component. And the spring leaf is secure. That's how we check this particular question. Now, while we're here, we can also check the suspension fastener. So the suspension fastener is loose, missing, or broken, and loose U-bolt. This has a couple of different parts to it. We need to first identify which components we're checking and to know which fasteners we're checking. So let me introduce you to the components of the assembly over here. This is called the bracket, or the more commonly called the shoulder. This is the bracket. The spring leaf is connected to the bracket over here. Then we have the shock absorber. The shock absorber is right over here. It is connected through those fasteners from the bottom and these fasteners from the top. Then we have the U-bolts. The U-bolts hold the spring leaf assembly together. Two U-bolts, one at the front, one at the back. And back there, we can see the end of the spring leaf, and it's wrapped around the second bracket. So all of these are the assembly at the front, and we need to check all of their fasteners for this test. So we get started. We are going to put on a glove, and we're going to get started. We're going to start from the fasteners that connect the bracket to the frame. All the fasteners are tight. They are not missing. The fastener at the bottom, the fasteners that connect the spring leaf to the bracket, they're tight. They're not missing. The fastener of the shock absorber, the bottom one, it's tight. It is not missing. It's not broken. It's not loose. From the top, if you take a close look over here, that's how it looks. From the top, it is secure. It is not missing. And then while we are here, we point out to the end of the assembly, make sure that nothing is loose or missing. So we just point out and say that there are no fasteners or no components loose or missing in the back. And the U-bolts, they are tight. Both of them, they are not missing. And the fasteners at the bottom, they are tight. They are not missing. So make sure that you mention all of these components and their fasteners. Whichever one that you cannot physically check, that's okay. Point out to it, visually check it, and make sure that it is tight and it doesn't have a problem. Now, that brings us to the last question. And this one got a particularly long video, right? So let's go to the last one. Air leak in air suspension system. And damaged, patched, cut, bruised, cracked, braid, or deflated, or airbag, or insecurely mounted airbag. Now, some trucks, they do have airbags at the front. Some trucks don't. For the purpose of the road test, we choose the airbag over here. It's more accessible too. So come with me, and I'm going to show you what an airbag is and what it does. So this is the airbag of the driver axle. Now, the airbag is basically acting like a spring. It is full of air and it makes the truck bouncy. Now, this truck was running and it built up, it already built up the pressure, so there is air inside, so it's ready for us to inspect. What should we inspect for? First of all, air leak in air suspension system. We need to listen for any leaks, and just like the tire, we can run our hands around to see if there is anything poking. So we can hear no leak and we can feel no leak around the suspension, around the airbag. Now, the second one says damaged, patched, cut, bruised, cracked to braid, or deflated. What is it asking? Damage and deflation. Keep that in mind. You need to do both. So we check with the hand that has the glove. We check for any damages. We need to check for any cuts. We need to check that it doesn't have a damage that is deep enough to reach the braid, which is the lines running through it. So no damages, no cuts, no patches. You don't need to say all of them, but if you point out to one or two of them that you can explain what you're inspecting for, that's useful. And then deflate it. So we hit the airbag and make sure that it's full of air and it's inflated. And lastly, it says insecurely mounted airbag. So we just hold the airbag from the bottom and check to make sure that it is securely mounted between these two supports. So the airbag is securely mounted. Once again, there are no leaks around the airbag and the airline systems. There are no damages. It is full of air and it is mounted securely. This is how we check the airbag, and now we've gone through all three of them. I'm now going to show you how to do it for the purpose of the road test, because it does not need all these explanations. I just wanted you guys to understand what exactly it is that we're checking. We're on the road test now. The examiner asks, describe and demonstrate broken spring leaf. What do we do? A broken spring leaf is a minor defect. When we have a minor defect, we write it in the inspection book, report it to the operator, and we are allowed to drive the vehicle. Cracked or broken main spring leaf, or more than one broken spring leaf in any spring leaf assembly, and part of the spring leaf or suspension is missing, shifted out of place, or it is in contact with another vehicle component, that those are major defects. When we have major defects, we write them in the inspection book, report them to the operator, and we are not allowed to drive the vehicle. I'm going to inspect them now. This is the main spring leaf. This is the spring leaf. Along the spring leaves, there are no cracks, no damages, nothing is shifted out of place, nothing is touching another vehicle component, and they are all secure. So that was easy, huh? Let's go to the next one. It's even easier. Suspension fastener is loose, missing, or broken. Describe and demonstrate suspension fastener is loose, missing, or broken. The examiner might also just say, describe and demonstrate suspension fastener. Okay, so Suspension fastener is loose, missing, or broken is a minor defect. When we have a minor defect, we write it in the inspection book, report it to the operator, and we are allowed to drive the vehicle. Loose U-bolt is a major defect. When we have a major defect, we write it in the inspection book, report it to the operator, and we are not allowed to drive the vehicle. How do we check that? The bracket fasteners are all tight. None of them are missing. Spring leaf fasteners, tight, none of them missing. Shock absorber fasteners, they're tight from the bottom and they are tight from the top. They're not missing. The U-bolts, the fasteners are tight, they are not missing, and the U-bolts are not loose. The fasteners in the back, all components are secure, none of them are loose, none of them are missing. Which brings us to the last item, air leak in our suspension system. Now you need to hear leak suspension, leak in suspension. That'll give you the answer. Describe and demonstrate air leak in air suspension system. I'm the applicant. Air leak in air suspension system is a minor defect. When we have a minor defect, we write it in the inspection book, report it to the operator, and we are allowed to drive the vehicle. Damaged, patched, cut, bruised, cracked tube braid, or deflated airbag, or insecurely mounted airbag, they're major defects. We write them in the inspection book, report them to the operator, and we are not allowed to drive the vehicle. I choose this airbag. So the airbag, I can feel or hear no leaks around the airbag. The airbag is not damaged, it's not cut, it's not cracked or bruised. The airbag is full of air and the airbag is mounted securely.